Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started.
Hey guys, welcome to the Matrimonial Merger. Jesse and Ambry here.
Welcome back.
It's been a fantastic week.
Yeah, great week. I cannot believe that we are halfway through September. How about you?
It's crazy.
September's going so fast. I love September too. September is such a great month.
But nothing's better than October.
Jesse loves Halloween.
Halloween is the shiz.
I love September. I don't know why. I love all things fall though. I look forward to pumpkin patches and all the festivals and all of it.
Speaking of festivals too, we're doing a pretty awesome client event too here coming up on with one of our real estate companies.
That'll be fun. That's why I love fall. Fall is just so fun. I'm
looking forward to that. Last year's was awesome and this year's will be even better. Since we're all about improving, right?
That's right.
That's great. Well, so Ambry, today I am on a rant. I've been on this rant for a couple of days now, but
Jesse picked our topic today. It's a good one.
I feel like I can't stress this enough, okay? Because 8% of people, if you go Google right now, the amount of people that actually hit their goal, it's only 8%.
Ooh.
Ridiculously low, right? I hate goals, absolutely hate them. And the reason why is, once again, because most people don't hit their goals. And in most cases, you're not setting goals, you're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Yikes.
I mean, how many times have we set a goal and haven't really achieved it? And you guys ask yourself that as you're listening to this podcast. How did it make you feel? Probably worthless, right?
Or just unfulfilled, or for me, frustrated. Because it's
right.
Well, why? I set a goal, I didn't hit it. You just kind of feel unmotivated.
Yeah, and the other problem I have with goals too is you hit the goal, and maybe you didn't set a high enough goal for yourself, mm-hmm. right? And so you hit the goal, and then you just coast the rest of the year. Then you find yourself going, oh man, I didn't make enough money, or maybe I could have done more, and I just kind of relaxed because I hit my goal, right?
Yeah.
I hate goals.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it's easy to just chalk it up to a loss and be well, I didn't deserve that anyways. And you just get frustrated with yourself and then create a whole bunch of self-doubt, and that's not what we're about.
So what's interesting about that though is when you do chalk it up as a loss, right? You start telling yourself and creating a standard for yourself that you don't hit your goals.
Yeah. And
so now all of a sudden you are creating a habit or a habit loop, for those that have read this book, but you're creating a habit loop that every time you set a goal, you don't achieve it. And then it is a downward spiral to your demise.
Yeah.
So that's why I hate goals.
So you're essentially we talk a lot about mental programs in our brain. So you're essentially creating a program in your mind that you don't achieve goals. You don't achieve your goals. You don't actually get what you want. You don't hit your goal.
Yeah.
You just, because when you don't, you just are okay with it. You accept it. You chalk it up as a loss. Get frustrated. Whatever.
Well, and I did a quick reel on this on my Instagram, but you had two choices. You either go get it or you justify the reason why you didn't go get it, right? And I think the reel was called you either justify or you fortify. And that's really what it comes down to, is you're either justifying why you didn't hit your goals, mm-hmm. or you're fortifying in yourself that you hit your goals and setting a standard for yourself.
I
right?
like that.
And so that's the biggest thing, and why I hate goals is because most people look at goals, and all these business gurus are out here saying set your goals, aim high, like reach for the stars. And it's really like, well, it's hard to reach for stars if you're not even like wanting to reach or feel like you can't even reach. Right?
For sure.
So
you have to evaluate your relationship with goals because, maybe for some people this is not necessarily an issue. Like they, have a very healthy mindset and relationship with goals and, and that's great. A lot of times, like I definitely can relate to in the past, like creating goals, but not really understanding like what to do or just creating a goal, but then not having like focus or putting energy the right direction to actually hit that goal. And so then like when I don't hit that goal or I didn't hit that goal in the past, I would, exactly like you just said, kind of fall into a loop of like, well, I guess I just don't hit goals. Like, so I hated goals for a different reason than you. I hated them because I felt like I could never get them. I was just like, what is a goal anyways? Like, it's just like,
it takes the air out of your mental balloon. Yeah. Like, that's what it does. And, like, so I have a question. Like, how many of us have started a diet? And, like, January, you get to the gym, and everyone's there, and then about 4 weeks later, there's this stigma or this idea that the gym's going to slow down in about a month. Come mid-February, it's back to normal, right? And all these people spent all this money, maybe went and got their protein powder, spent hundreds of dollars because it's new year, new me. Like they tell themselves every year. And then what? Right. They're done in 6 weeks. That protein sits there for the rest of the year. New year comes. They feel fresh again, go spend money, throw out the old protein powder. And it's a vicious cycle, right? Yeah. And it may not be you as a listener, but you know someone. Yeah. Or know
a different situation. It doesn't have to be like a diet. I think a lot of people can relate to some kind of like healthy living thing that they started, but like it wasn't maintainable. Yeah. Or it could be like a business. It could be something within your business that you're like, this is what we're doing. This is our this is our goal. And, Well,
I had lunch with someone today who's really, really into social media. Mm-hmm. And you'll find this interesting, Ambry, is when I was talking to him, I said, hey, I am posting 3 reels a day and I am posting on these timelines, and I'm posting this amount. Here's my views. Here's all this stuff, and I only have added 100 new followers on Instagram.
Jesse, that's pretty good, though.
Well, and that's exactly what he said.
Okay, I was like, that's actually.
He said, "You've been doing this for 6 weeks and got 100 followers," and I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "That's really good.
Yeah, that's awesome."
And to me, like, I'm looking at massive results, right? But that was encouraging to me. But had I not actually went and talked to him, maybe I would have gotten frustrated and said, man, like, this isn't growing to the 100,000 followers like I want in 6 weeks. I'm out, even though I really have a good thing going, according to the social media expert and the hundreds of thousands of dollars he's invested into social media. Mm-hmm. Like, this guy was giving me all sorts of praise, saying I'm doing exactly what I need to do.
100 followers in 6 weeks organically like that is really good.
It is really good.
And, like, that speaks to, like, I'll go on a tiny tangent that will kind of bring us back around. We do like tangents. We should just rename our podcast The Tangent.
Tangent tantrums.
Anyways, so, like, you have to remind yourself, like, the consistency that's going to be involved too. Like when you set out to do anything you want to do, like you got to be all in, and you have to understand, the timelines, and things could happen faster than you think, right? Like if you're putting that effort in and that energy, like it could happen, and you can expect results to happen faster. Honestly, I think 100 followers in 6 weeks, in my opinion, is like pretty dang awesome.
Well, I feel a lot better about it now.
Yeah,
right?
but like, had you not created that consistency, you wouldn't have any of those followers. Right. And if you would have given up 3 weeks ago, where would you be? So it's like you have to also be like committed to those little things that are getting you to that end goal, quote unquote goal.
And I think the biggest thing too is the guy that I was talking to has been doing this for 5 years, has posted thousands of hours of content. Yeah. And it's literally, like, I asked him, and this is what I'd encourage you guys to do too if you're trying to get involved. So here's my little random tangent, but go surround yourself with people that are where you want to be now.
Yeah, you want to be the smallest fish in the room, essentially.
And I asked him, I said, like, 50,000 foot view, you're starting over right now, just brand new. What are you doing? And he goes in and gives me some amazing advice, and it just clicks and makes sense. And he's like, you do that, you'd be successful faster than I would, and it took me 5 years. But that's the thing is, some of these things he's doing, he's not even doing, I'm doing. And he's like going, oh my gosh, like that's great. And we're talking results. And so the thing is that we want to stress is some of you guys are starting and you have this goal and you don't reach your goal because it's not possible, right? Because, you want 100,000 followers on your Instagram channel in 30 days. I mean, the likelihood of doing that organically without spending money or doing crazy stuff is very small. It's possible.
Could happen,
but you need to surround yourself with people that are actually encouraging you. And that's one of the things. So
be committed, be consistent. Like
exactly.
I mean, if it's that type of a goal, do your research, understand the timelines, and understand what it's going to take to get there. So
I think. Yeah, and just to kind of jump back on, is one of the reasons why you're not consistent is because you've not established a habit of being consistent every time you do it, right? Like,
so you have a habit that every time you say the word goal, like you're not going to be consistent, or like you've literally created a program, like we said, or belief in your unconscious mind that like you don't even you're not taking yourself seriously. It's like, oh great. Here's a goal. Oh, well, the last time Ambry set a goal, the last 10 times Ambry set a goal, like, it didn't happen.
Right.
And I'm going to reject that for myself because it does happen. But, one might say, like, if someone has set, the last 10 goals someone has set, if those 10 goals were kind of ignored or fell by the wayside, like, why is your unconscious mind going to take you seriously and start finding the resources and help you get that goal? Like, you're not going to take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
And if you don't take yourself seriously, why should anyone else around you,
Yeah. I want everyone listening to this episode just to really quickly think of the first word that comes to your mind when I say the word goal. And take that first word, and that's your, like, right there is a good idea of what goals mean to you.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's a negative, then you've got some work to do. That's why you're listening to this episode. If it's a positive, good for you. What we're going to add on to this episode is going to help you achieve even more and become even better when it comes to this. But why don't you just
help you just
about that?
Elevate your relationship with goals altogether, no matter where you're at. But especially if, the first word that came to your mind was something, like Jesse said, negative, or just like a
underwhelming.
Yeah, like a not so positive emotion, then
even the emotion. The first thing when I say the word goal, are you rolling your eyes? Are you taking a deep breath? Are you going,
oh my gosh, like
what is that feeling, right?
Yeah,
and that kind of gives you an idea of where you currently sit. And maybe in some cases, just changing the word goal to something else will help you stay more consistent. So let's repeat this exercise. All right, we said goal. Now, I want you to think of the first thing you think of or feel when we say the word standard.
Different for me, honestly.
Way different, right? Like, standard is like, okay, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Goal is like, oh, I wish, for me.
Yeah.
Like, but when I hear the word standard, it's like, this is it. Right?
I mean, I'll just share like what I thought of when
please do.
I mean, we've changed this in our house a lot, but like initially when you say goal, I think like, oh, like scary, like new, or just, like there's a big question mark in my mind almost. It's like, what the heck? Like,
like a big question mark.
Giant question mark. Like that's the best way to... Yeah. But then when you say standard, I think like power and clarity. Like my mind is like, like if I have a standard, like I know I'm going to achieve it or keep it or stay within that, because for me, like, my standards and my values are very important to me. So there you go. So there's like our segue into like the name of this podcast, which is standard over goal. Always. So how do you then take those quote unquote goals and turn them into a standard for yourself? And maybe I'll throw goals out altogether, because now you are elevating your mindset and your way of life, and you're going, you know what, I don't need goals. I have standards for myself, and, you know, those are power.
The story of one of our companies that we use for flipping houses, and doing more of the investment real estate. This was a huge monumental story, because I remember sitting down with this team and saying, okay, like, we're no longer doing goals, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, we hadn't done a single real estate transaction in 4 months. And our company was bleeding. Literally, massively bleeding.
Spending money to stay alive,
money,
basically.
And we had to make some very, very hard changes. And I remember looking at it, and I asked everyone in the room, like, what's our goals? And it was almost like a light bulb went off. It's the minute I asked, because everyone's countenance in that room was kind of like a negative. And I was like, why are we so negative around goals? And it just blew my mind. So then we went back and said, okay, well, let's set a standard for our company. What's the standard? And we didn't talk about goals anymore. I just looked around and said, what do you think you can generate? What do you think you can generate? And we came up to a standard of $150,000 a month. That's a high freaking standard for a company that hasn't done any business in 3 or 4 months.
But before, maybe like the goal in your mind was just like, we just need to make enough money to keep our doors open, to keep our business running, to pay our employees. Like, so there's like your reason for not having success. It's like, well, you're just aiming for the bare minimum. Like, sure, your goal would be to make $1 million or millions of dollars. However, like, if you're just telling yourself, well, we just need to keep our doors open, we just need to like make enough money to, you know, survive or whatever, that's what you're going to do.
You know what?
Or even less.
What you just
it's not
said,
motivating.
What you just said is straight fire. Like, I want everyone to like really internalize this. What you just said is, you set a goal and it's almost a wish, right?
Yeah, it's like,
I wish I would make... You
don't believe it. It's not real. Your mind can't even like believe it.
So you set a goal of something you can't even believe, and then in the back of your mind, you're saying, this is what we really need. This is what we really need, right? So what you're saying is, sure, we have a goal of making $100,000 a month, but we only need $10,000.
Right.
So what do you think's going to happen? Are you going to work towards $100,000? Most likely not, because only 8% of those people, like going back to the statistic, actually hit that. So you're just going to start working towards what you need. And then you're going to get frustrated with your goals and start a habit loop. Yeah. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That was unreal awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's like, I mean, we've been doing a lot of investing in ourselves this year. We've spent a lot of money going to, you know, different coachings and just trying to elevate our mindset and adjust some of the limiting beliefs that we might have or have had. And like, I remember this like really hit me when one of our coaches at like a retreat thing we went to, one of the coaches said like he had to change his zero for his bank account. Like, so you have, you know, zero in your bank account, like that freaks everyone out. It's like, if you're getting close to zero in your bank account, you're like sweating, you're freaking out. Like, no, and then maybe over time you're like, if you're getting close to 5,000, then you're like, oh, we almost have no money, like whatever. But you always have kind of like that comfort zone. But you can change that zero for your own account. So like, for some, that might look like $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million, like whatever that is for you. It's like, what is that point in your bank account? And I'm just using this as like a correlation to what we're talking about. But like, what is that new zero in your bank account? And that would be like a standard, right? So like instead of 0, I'll just use an example of like my standard would be $100,000 or whatever. So then all of a sudden, like if $100,000 in your mind is the new 0, you're going to start looking for resources and like elevating and creating more opportunities for income well before you hit even 100,000.
Right.
And you're way far away from your old 0, which was 0 or whatever. So it's like just changing the way that you see things and view things in your mind. So
absolutely
changing a goal to a standard.
And that's what we did with this company. And so we set this standard. It was no longer a goal. We set 3 standards. We set the standard. This is what we need to make, which was 150,000.
So instead of needing to make the bare minimum to keep the doors open, now we need
to make
150,000. That's the new keep our doors open number.
Exactly. And everyone in the room came up with that idea and said, yes, this is what we need. Then we set another standard and said, okay, what do we want to achieve, right? Like, we have our standard of 150,000. What would be, like, even better? And we said 250,000. And then what's really important here is we have tied a company reward to it, and this is something we'll talk about in a later episode. But we established a very, very big reward. Like, and I'll just tell you,
for each tier.
If we hit $250,000, we're giving a $5,000 cash check to everyone in our company, and they are to go spend that on themselves in a single day. Like, they get the rest of the day off and go spend
awesome.
$5,000, right?
Nice.
Crazy reward, right? Well, then we set an even bigger standard, and that standard's $1 million in a month. Like, that's so crazy.
Awesome.
The reward behind that is unreal because we are chartering a private jet, like instantly. When we hit $1 million in a month, private jet, and we're going to the Bahamas.
To a private island.
Right? Yep, private island on a private jet, and we are dropping everything and going.
If that's not motivating, I don't know what is. So.
Exactly. And that was what was so cool is when we walked away from that meeting, everyone was like, dude, we can hit 250,000. And the resources started opening up. Ideas started to flow. And the synergy in the room from this team was not like anything we've ever had before. Okay, fast forward, $150,000 is now, like, it doesn't even faze us, right? And we're now working towards $250,000 because we want that $5,000 paid day off, right, to go spend it. And I already know I'm going to go buy myself, like, a way nice Rolex. Like, you know, like, that's already what I have in my mind. Yeah. And that's so awesome. Those are the things that, like, setting the standards has really changed the script for all of us. Because now the standard is, okay, we need to make $150,000. Now, really quickly, I'm going to say, do we need that? Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Now, could this business survive off of less? Possibly. But the standard is $150,000. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I mean, you literally can't say no. Like, no, the business can't survive. No. Because if we're not making more than that, it's not worth our time and effort and energy. And,
exactly.
You know, like, sure, you could make half that. And maybe everyone would walk away with some money. Mm-hmm. But is it worth the time and energy and effort put in? No, it's not. So it's okay to, you know, think that way when you're creating your new standard of, like, is this more than we quote unquote need? Well, compared to what? And who said that, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you can make that the new, yes, we need this. And then you'll believe it more and your mind will start searching for the resources more because it's like, oh, we need this? Okay. Like,
yeah. Well, I think what's cool is, like, now that we're consistently hitting that standard of $150,000 a month, I mean, if we want to change our standard, and we change our standard and we change our reward.
Okay, this is going to seem like a really, like, yes, I agree. And this is going to seem like a really weird comparison, but Jesse and I are counting macros right now. And so it's like, if our coaches give us, I'm just going to use numbers. Like, if my coach tells me, here, like, here's your macros all within 1,500 calories. I'm looking to eat 1,500 calories a day. And that's like my standard, my goal, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I have a certain number of macros for my protein, carbs, fat, all within those 1,500 calories. Like, that's what I'm aiming for, right? Then, like, at some point, my macros will change, whether up or down. So let's say my macros at some point go up to 1,800. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, like, I'm now looking for more food, more resources. Like, I'm, eating more protein, and it's like, naturally, I'm going to be looking to eat more food during the day.
Yep.
And then if I go up to 2,200 calories, all of a sudden I'm looking for more food, and it just is what happens. So it's like, if you think of that as the same way as like your income, it's like, well, so going back to the macros, like my body could survive off 1,200 calories, 2,000 calories, 3,000 calories, like
a slice of cake.
Yeah, I could survive off of any of those. Like, right. You could take any of those and be like, well, do you need more or less than that? Well, I don't know. You tell me, right? It's like, right. I don't need 1,800 calories to live or 1,500 calories to live. No, of course not. But for what I want to do and for my goals for my body and the health that I want to achieve, like my macros right now are around 14 to 1,500 and a certain number of like protein, carbs. Is that what I need? No, I could probably live off half the amount of protein I'm eating right now. But if I do that, all of a sudden I'm not, maintaining the muscle that I want to maintain. So I actually, I said that was a weird analogy, but I actually really love it because it's like, if you think of that in the sense of like income, like what do you need? It's up to you.
Yeah.
Where are you trying to go? What do you want? What are you going towards?
Yeah.
Then set your standards around that, because anyone could tell you what you need. Like,
sure.
I could ask 20 different people, like, well, how many calories do I need to eat a day? And all those answers would probably be different depending on, people's opinions and experience or whatever. But it's like, what do I want? Then build your standards or your
around that.
Yeah, your literally like your life macros, your financial macros, whatever you want to call it. Like, build those around what you want.
Yeah, what's interesting about standards is standards cannot be changed by the influence of other people unless you allow them to change. Unless you allow it to change, right?
Yeah.
So when you set a standard, boom, that's it. That's your life. That's how that's like your moral code that you adhere to, which is super cool, right? When you start thinking of it that way. Once again,
that's awesome.
Can other people run businesses less than 150,000? Sure, but not us. That's our standard, right? And then we set even better standards. And if we hit those even better standards, then we just say, you know what? I feel like raising even more of my life and my experiences. So the new standard is blank, right? And you just continue to, build off of that. When you are working towards standards, you are working towards building truly what you want.
Yeah.
Whereas goals are wishes.
Yep. And I like what you said about like people can't just like change. Like if you have a standard and you believe in it and it is like part of who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
Then like something someone says, like sure it might be like, oh well that's annoying, but like it's not going to just like all of a sudden make that standard fall apart if that's truly ingrained in you. Like for us, one thing we've always done is set aside one day a week that we, spend with family. We go to church. Like that's our like day where we just get to like disconnect, reconnect, and re-energize for the week ahead. Yeah. And we love that. And that's like a standard for our family. Like we really don't let anything inside that. It's like, this is our standard, what we want. And so, there's been plenty of times when someone has said something like, oh, well, you would make more money if you didn't do that, or this or that. Oh, you really should change that, or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever. I respect their opinion, but it's like, this is what we want, and this is what we've set for a standard for ourselves. So same thing with like money, right? If you set a standard of, I'm just going to use $150,000 a month again. If that is your standard and you're committed and you believe in it and it is like, that's what has to happen. If someone comes along, like people like to do, Jesse's got some reels on his
the crabs
page
in the
about
bucket.
The crabs in the bucket.
Yeah.
Yep. Like people like to come along and they like to drag you down. They like to say things like, oh, that's crazy, or oh, like you really think that's possible, or, oh, you should really change that, or that's whatever. Insert negative comment here. Like, when they say things like that, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, cool, sure. Like, I respect that that's how you view things, but not me. Like, I believe in this, and this is a standard for me, and, you know, someone else's standard could be totally different, and that's okay. It's fine. Like, you know, it's all right.
My favorite is someone was asking me, here's like a great example. I was talking to two different people, and one person was like, what's your goals? And I say, I don't have goals, I have standards, and I make $150,000 a month. And their jaw hit the floor, right? And they thought I was crazy. Next guy goes, hey, what's your goal? And I said the same thing. I don't have goals. I set standards. My standard's $150,000 a month. And he said, that's it?
Like, isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Now, he loved the idea of standards over goals.
Yeah.
But $150,000 wasn't even close to what he was making. He was making closer to $4,000. And $400,000 to be exact. Crazy, right? So I want to go through like just a quick example, Ambry, about setting a standard. And I want to focus it on fitness, because, you know, that's something we can all kind of like look at. All of us have different body compositions and things that maybe we want to work on. I wouldn't say insecurities, because insecurities can be fixed by a change of a mindset, right?
Yeah, you can change your mindset and you can love yourself no matter what. But like I think there's something to be said about being able to, what's the right way to put this? Like being able to just take charge over your health, your wellness, like what you want for yourself, and having like congruence with who you are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all those things. And if you're trying to be in control and on top of things in one aspect of your life, but you're slacking in the other three, it's just not going to, you're not going to have as much success, in my opinion. Like if you can find, you know, that balance and control over all those aspects of your life. And I don't know if control is even the right word, but just mastering yourself in all those aspects of your life, then I think that that's where true success can happen, and happen even faster than we can imagine.
Sure.
Because you've mastered yourself.
For sure.
You're your best self.
100%. So let's break this down. Most people would go into this and say, I want to lose X amount of pounds, right? We'll say 40 pounds, right? I want to lose 40 pounds. Great. This is something that I had told myself for many years. I want to lose 40 pounds. And naturally, I put on 40 pounds. From the time I said I want to lose 40, I put on another 40, right? So this is where things changed. And I was able to drop 40 pounds. And now I'm starting to see a six-pack and see results that I've truly wanted, right? Mm-hmm. But it was no longer, I want to lose a number. What it was is, the new standard is I'm going to the gym 4 times a week. And then, as I was able to keep that standard, I then went and said, now I'm going to keep a record of the food I'm eating. And I'm going to do that every single day. And that was the new standard. And I remember how funny it was when I started doing that, because I was like, holy crap, I gave myself an amount of carbs.
Yeah.
And I put a roll on the scale. And that one roll was 2 times the carbs that I was allowed to have in a single day.
Dang it.
Well, the funny part is I looked at you and I was like, Ambry, I would eat 3 of these rolls in a single sitting.
You're like,
because
this is my problem.
They're
I found it.
Good. Exactly. And I was able to determine that I was eating way too many carbohydrates, but because I told myself, this is my new standard. Okay, great. Every single day since that, I've kept a record of the food I've eaten. Even That's on times where I'm not
it's amazing.
So focused, I'm still keeping a record.
The habit
exactly
within that standard.
Like, exactly. It's
keeping
crazy.
The consistency. And I love that.
And that was the thing is, okay, now that you've developed your standard, this is what I'm going to do. You tell yourself it's a standard, no longer a goal. And I would write it down consistently. right? When you go home, right before bed, write down, I go to the gym 4 times a day. I count my food. Whatever the case it is, write it down. There's a lot of power in writing. And before you knew it, I lost 40 pounds in 3 months.
Yeah.
Or, sorry. Yeah, 3 months. 4 months?
Ish, something like that, yeah.
I was losing insane amount of weight.
So fast.
And
but it was, like, healthy and maintainable. It wasn't like...
It was crazy.
You were on some crazy, like...
I literally...
Not even, like, I wouldn't even say a diet.
No.
Like, it's just a lifestyle change. Like, you're eating real food. It's a new standard. It's not even a diet. It's literally a new standard.
Yeah.
And, man, I love that. I'm putting in a plug for our last episode. Let's Get Chunky.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what we just did. Like, you were kind of up here going, like, I want to lose 40 pounds. But you didn't have the data and information chunking down of what that actually looked like and what you needed. So then all of a sudden, by taking that goal or whatever that you wanted to lose 40 pounds and instead creating standards underneath it, all of a sudden you reached that goal without even like, I'm not going to say without trying, but it was like you weren't even focused on that goal as much. You were focused on these standards and these, lifestyle changes. And because of that, you hit the goal.
Well, what I think is insane about that too is our schedule, because we set standards personally when it came to fitness, our schedule has changed dramatically. Because it used to be I'd get up and go to the gym and then kind of come home whenever. And now it's gotten so precise and so like by the minute.
Much
I know
more intention.
You're getting up at a certain time. You're going to the gym. You're coming home. I'm going to the gym. And our entire family is up and moving and out, like ready to embrace the day by 8 o'clock, which is like a freaking machine.
Yeah.
Like we were never hitting that until we started implementing a standard.
Not with the intention that we are now. And I think going back to like, that's why it's so important to have standards around, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, like desires and wants. Like you have to have standards around all those things. And,
I'm going to pause real quick because this just came to my mind. But when you're living your standards, what's your mental state? What's the first feeling you feel?
Happy.
Okay. That's all I wanted to embrace right there. Is that when you're hitting your standards, your personal standards, and you're living the best your life based off of what you truly want, you're happy.
Happy. You feel unstoppable. You're powerful. You're moving forward. Like you're not just sitting, waiting. Like you are moving forward, and you're receiving the results and the things that you desire and deserve.
There's no stress about money, right? Because you're hitting your money standard for the time being. Mm-hmm. The only thing you're thinking is, man, can I now have the Lamborghini Aventador instead of the Lamborghini Huracan? And if that's the case, what do I need to do to raise my standard, right? Now you're having a different train of thoughts as opposed to, oh my gosh, if I don't get this deal, I'm not going to be able to close it, and I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage because I'm too busy living at what I need to make. Yeah. But now you're hitting your standards, and you're like, dude, I'm going to have what I want. I'm going to go on the vacation I want. It's abundance. And that right there, you guys, if happiness is truly what you want, start setting more standards for yourself, because as you live those standards, you're going to be happy, naturally.
Yeah, that is true. I love that.
Unreal thought right there. So, you guys, we learned so much just talking about these things. It's awesome. Like,
it's great.
It's the best. But
the only thing better is if all of y'all were in this room with us and we were just,
and we are hearing what standards you set and like what your mental state is.
That's coming.
Yeah, that's going to be so exciting.
With our Merge coaching program, all of that will be possible.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be
hang on tight.
And what will be so cool is sitting in an environment with people that all have set standards, and you get to hear each different standard that someone has set for themselves, and then you get to just go, holy crap, maybe I want to up my standards. And it's a
learn from each other, respect each other, help each other, motivate each other.
Right.
All of the things.
There might be someone in the room that has $100 million a year standard, and we're all just sitting there going, whoa, this is cool, right?
No, there's another person that that's it.
That's it, yeah. Or there's someone that is striving to get to that new standard. That's what's going to be super cool about it. But today, you guys, we want you to take what would be a goal, right? We don't like goals, but what was a goal?
We're redesigning goals.
For you. What is something that you've been telling yourself you want to accomplish? And now we want you to set that as a standard. Set the
standards around it. Yep. So think of the desire and then set the standards around it and write them down.
Yep.
Write them down over and over. Write them down every night. Write it down with your family.
Yeah.
Design this code of standards, of ethics for your life, and it will change your life.
Yeah, it literally will. Ambry and I cannot stress this enough. It will change your life, and if you want to feel happy, set yourself a standard and live by it.
Yep.
And it's so easy. I will attest to you guys, the days I don't feel like working, or the days I don't feel like finishing at the gym, and getting the workout, I had one of those days today. I'm still human, and my body was fighting me, but because I had set a standard, I was able to.
There's no question.
There was no question. No matter how many times my body was like, "Oh, just give up," or that thought in your head, "Oh, just give up." It was like, "No, I don't give up on myself. This is my standard."
Yeah.
Where if it was a goal, oh yeah, Jesse, you naturally give up goals all the time.
Or the other thing is with a goal, you can be like, "Oh, I'll start that again next month."
Yes.
Well, your standards, you don't do that.
No,
your standard is a way you live. It's not
preach.
It's not something you can just start over next week. No, if you break your standard, it's like.
Can I get an amen over here? That is...
Your standard is a way of life. Your goal can start and stop at any time. You can, start again next month, next year, whatever. But a standard, nope, that's...
Not for you.
That's the way you live.
Because that's the way you live. And once you set that standard, you can always go back and change standards, right?
Doesn't that just make you so excited?
It makes me want to set a standard for this show.
Scream through the microphone.
I want to set the standard that we bring high quality content every single episode to the point where people just feel like giving us 5-star review. Yeah?
There's the plug for the 5-star review.
There it is.
But really, we appreciate you guys being here and listening. And I mean, if you made it to the end of this podcast, obviously, you're one of our fans, and we love you to death, and not to death, but we love you.
We hope you're pounding on your
term.
We hope you're pounding on your steering wheel, just feeling absolutely motivated to start a new standard.
We're super, super happy about this community that we're able to create, and we can't wait to turn this into more and meet each other. And
I kind of feel greedy right now because you and I have so many people reaching out to us individually and saying oh my gosh this, and they're sharing things in the episode, that I feel greedy that we're not opening the doors right now so you get to meet these other people too.
Yeah.
I am so excited for the day that we put everyone in the same room and we all get to meet each other and feel that energy, because Ambry and I's cups are being full every single day by people. Text messages of how this is changing their life.
Yeah. And we need that. We need a community around us. We're all here on this earth together for a reason, and, let's make awesome things happen together. So super happy you guys are on board and here, and thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to chat again with you next Wednesday, and until then, go make a great week. Have fun setting your standards. Send us a message with what you come up with.